Hello, my dear children. I welcome you all to your history class. I hope you all are safe, healthy, and fine. Children, in the previous class, we completed till the tribal revolts. After that, we need to shift to the Swaraj in plantations. Children, we all know that Gandhiji's non-cooperation movement was interpreted differently by different groups of people. Wherever the people were under the exploitation of the British, they interpreted in their own way the meaning of Swaraj that was initiated by Gandhiji. Children, the workers on the plantation had their own ideas about Swaraj and Mahatma Gandhi. For the plantation workers in Assam, freedom meant to move about freely out of the confined space, and it also meant to retain a link with the villages from which they had come. Under the Inland Immigration Act of 1859, plantation workers could not leave the tea garden without taking permission, and this permission was never given. Children, when they heard of the non-cooperation movement, thousands of workers, they defied their authorities. They left the plantations and started moving towards their homes. Now the fleeing of the workers could not reach their destination because there was a railway and steamer strike at that time. This gave a chance to the police, who captured these workers and punished them ruthlessly. Many of them lost their life. The spirit of unrest and defiance of authority generated by the non-cooperation movement contributed to the rise of many local movements which did not adopt the policy of non-cooperation or even the idea of non-violence. The tribals and peasants believed that Swaraj would come, and with it all their sufferings would come to an end. Yet, when they took the name of Gandhiji and raised slogans demanding independent India, they were voicing the feelings of millions of Indians. Their identification with the Congress made their movement go beyond their local limits. Children, the non-cooperation movement was gaining success throughout. But in the meantime, it took a violent turn after the police fired at Chauri Chaura in Uttar Pradesh. In a sudden burst of anger, the demonstrators, they set fire to a nearby police station, burning 22 policemen to death. Gandhiji immediately called off the movement. He felt that people have to be trained in non-violence before they could be ready for mass struggle. Children, this calling off of non-cooperation was not at all, expected. People felt that what Gandhiji has taken initiative for, he will be going a long way with that. But then, because of the unrest that was among the people, Gandhiji perforce had to call off this non-cooperation movement. But before we proceed on to the next topic, let me tell you that there were certain achievements which were part of the non-cooperation movement. Now, the first achievement of this non-cooperation movement was that the movement contributed in the awakening of the masses to economic problem and their political causes, that is the imperialism. Second thing was the ordinary men, women and rich, poor showed willingness and ability to endure hardships and punishments. The third achievement we can say was that an increasing recognition of social evils like untouchability and drinking was also people achieved a new sense of confidence wherein lay the strength of the movement. Now all these were the achievements of the non-cooperation movement. People realized that the social evils like untouchability and drinking are to be given up, because without giving up on these, is not possible to attain independence. And moreover, children, in whenever we talk of the laws that were made, we always keep in mind Gandhiji's emphasis, because during the time of imperialism, when British had taken charge over the complete territories of India, people were more into drinking. So just to bring them out of this evil, Gandhiji had he arranged for many anti-liquor movements also in the country. Children, I hope these achievements and non-cooperation is clear to you. Why non-cooperation movement was called off, that is also clear to all of you. Now coming to the next topic, that is towards the civil disobedience movement. Children, when the non-cooperation movement was withdrawn, there was a widespread disappointment among the people. There was even, disillusionment among them. Within the Congress, some of the leaders were now tired of mass struggle and wanted to participate in elections to the provincial councils that had been set up by the Government of India at 1990. They felt that it was important to oppose British politics within the councils, argue for reforms, and also demonstrate that the councils were not truly democratic. C.R. Das, Motilal Nehru, these people, they formed, Swaraj Party within the Congress to contest elections. But the younger leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose, they wanted mass radical agitation and demanded complete independence. Now this radicalism was something, which asked for immediate, results. That is why these people wanted to go for a mass radical agitation that would bring them complete freedom without delay. Now, in the years following the end of non-cooperation movement in 1922, nationalism had been kept alive by the Gandhian constructive workers who worked in the villages. Start. Now, in children, such situations which were developing, two factors they shaped the Indian politics. First was the worldwide economic depression, which had brought down the agricultural prices to half from 1926, and it was a hard blow to the already impoverished peasantry, which was burdened with high taxes and rents. The government refused to decrease its own rates of taxation, and the peasants were put into a situation where they had to pay taxes, rents, debts, while their incomes saw a downward trend. The peasants found it difficult to sell their harvest, and by 1930 the countryside was in a grave situation. And on the other hand, against this background, the Tory government in Britain constituted the Statutory Commission under Sir John Simon. And the Simon Commission is popularly known as Simon Commission, which had to inquire into the functioning of the 1919 Act and suggest further reforms. Now this commission had 7 members, but none of them was Indian. Children, the main motive of the Simon Commission was to look into the flaws of the constitutional flaws which were there, and the Indians were and to look into the flaws that were there in the constitution. The Indians were demanding amendment in the constitutional they were asking for the constitutional reforms. But then though the Simon Commission was appointed, but then it had no Indian members in it, and this was the reason that Simon Commission had to face lot of agitation, lot of opposition for the same. People opposed this Simon Commission because they thought that whatever amendments are required, Indians can better tell those amendments rather than having only the British members in the commission. They should have some Indian members as well, and this was the reason why Simon Commission was opposed and was told to go back. Now children, coming to this flow chart that you can see in this Great Depression, they are showing, I have told you right now, then the Simon Commission. Now these factors, the Great Depression and the Simon Commission, it was very much responsible for shaping the Indian politics. Now after this, coming to the Lahore session of Congress 1929. Children, the Lahore session of Congress 1929, it was headed by Jawaharlal Nehru, and they demanded Poon Swaraj, and they also declared a celebration of Independence Day on 26 January 1930. Now the pledge to struggle for complete independence was also taken. Now all these factors, they were after the Simon Commission happened, and how in the Lahore session the Congress people, they declared, complete independence, and to celebrate 26 January 1930 as the Independence Day. Now, during this complete period, which was, where the events were taking place one after another, but this declaration of the complete independence, could not attain much of attention of the people. So Gandhi ji thought of he thought of finding another way to relate to the idea of freedom to more concrete issues of the everyday life. Now, after this Lahore session, the Salt March 1930 took place, and the Salt March was actually the beginning of the civil disobedience movement. Children, we all know that salt was something which was used by every person, whether rich or poor, whether British or Indian, everybody needed salt in their everyday life. Now Gandhi ji found a powerful symbol in this salt and thought that, this salt could unite the whole nation. So with this idea, on 31st of January, he sent a letter to Viceroy Irwin stating, 11 demands. Now there were certain demands which were put up by Gandhi ji in this letter, and out of those 7 demands, some of them were the general interest, others were specific demands of different classes, from industrialists to the peasants. The idea was to make the demands wide ranging so that all classes within the Indian society could identify with them, and everyone could be brought together in a united campaign. And the demands that were put up by Gandhi ji, the demand that created a difference in the lives of the people was the abolition of the salt tax. Now salt was something which was consumed by the rich, the poor, and everybody. The Gandhiji felt that the tax on salt and the government's monopoly over its production was to be removed. So keeping this in mind, he initiated the Salt March, which was also known as the March of Dandi. Children, you all know about the history of Salt March, but still, keeping in mind certain factors, Gandhiji's letter to Irwin stating general and specific demands, abolition of salt tax, was common to all. No response was given for this from Irwin. Then Gandhiji started the Salt March, and which was joined by many people. Then, reaching Dandi, Gandhiji violated salt law by manufacturing salt, and with the violation of the salt law and manufacturing of the salt, the civil disobedience movement began throughout the country. Now children, the beginning of the civil disobedience movement was not very different from the non-cooperation movement, though both the non-cooperation and civil disobedience cannot be merged into each other. They were separately executed, and the motives of both the movements were different, but then the aim was to get rid of the British control over the country. Now children, as soon as Gandhiji broke the salt law, with that many of the people throughout the country, they started defying the British rules which were there. The forest dwellers, those who were there, they violated the forest laws. The people, those who were in the cities, the people, those who were in the towns, they all started defying the British rules which were there. Civil disobedience was basically not to follow the British rules which were there. The laws that were made by the British to exploit the Indians, these laws were not to be followed by the people, was the main motive of the civil disobedience. Whereas non-cooperation strongly emphasized on not cooperating with the British people. Though the motives were same, but still the mindset with which both the movements were initiated were completely different. Now under this civil disobedience movement of 1930, the colonial government was quite worried about the developments. They started arresting the Congress leaders one by one. The arrest of the leaders in the northwest frontier province led to a mass demonstration in Peshawar. Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, who was an active, member of the Congress, and he was a disciple of Gandhiji. He was known as the Frontier Gandhi because the way Gandhiji used to walk, same way Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan was also, he also followed the footsteps of Gandhiji. Now, during all this, what happened? People demonstrated on the streets, and then Gandhiji was arrested because of the arrest of the Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan. Now, there occurred a massive wave of protest at Gandhiji's arrest in Sholapur, Maharashtra. The textile workers, they dominated the town and went on hartal along with others. They also burned the liquor shops, the railway stations were damaged, the law courts, the police station, municipal buildings, everything was attacked by by approximately 1 lakh people. Peaceful satyagrahis were attacked, and about 1 lakh were arrested by the British. Now, all these things which were taking place simultaneously one by one, in such situation, Gandhiji again decided to call off the movement. Now, the calling of the civil disobedience movement involves several factors: arrest of Congress leaders like Abdul Ghaffar Khan, then violent clashes in many places and police firings, then Gandhiji's arrest, then more violent clashes began after the arrest of Gandhiji. Peaceful satyagrahis were attacked, women and children were beaten up, and thousands of the people were arrested. And because of all these factors, Gandhiji called off the civil disobedience movement. After the civil disobedience movement was called off by Gandhiji, again Gandhiji declared the relaunching of the civil disobedience movement. Now, what all factors were responsible for this relaunching were Gandhiji entered into a pact with Aravind. Then the government was to release political prisoners. Government also wanted to restore to the brutal repression which was there. Then Congress was declared as illegal, and Gandhiji again launched the civil disobedience movement. Now, arrest of Congress leaders, the negotiation at the Round Table Conference broke, and Gandhiji returned to India, and he relaunched the movement. Gandhiji also agreed to take part in the second Round Table Conference, which was to be held at London. Now, all these factors, they were responsible for the relaunching of the civil disobedience. But children, by the time civil disobedience was relaunched, slowly, people lost the interest. Now, what were the reasons? Though people initially they participated, wholeheartedly in it, but then slowly the movement lost its momentum due to several reasons. Now, what were those reasons? Let me tell you. Coming to this, how the participants saw the movement: the rich peasants, the poor peasants. Now, see, the hitting of the trade depression and the falling prices, of course, the rich peasants were affected by that. They were unable to pay the revenues. Then resentment over the refusal of the reduction in revenue demands were not looked after by the Congress. They joined the civil disobedience movement. The rich peasants, they joined the civil disobedience movement. For them, it was struggle against the high revenues. And then disappointed with when civil disobedience movement was called off, and they were reluctant to participate when it was relaunched. The poor peasants, those who were there, they too faced similar problems as the rich peasants. The depression made impossible to pay rent to the landlords. The Congress was not willing to support the poor tenants, fearing it might upset the rich peasants and they may lose support of these rich peasants as they were financially supporting the Congress. and there was no active participation by the poor and the small peasants in the relaunching of the civil disobedience movement. Same was the condition of the business community also. They demanded protection against the imports and fixed exchange rates. They also set up Indian Industrial and Commercial Congress that and Federation of the Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industries. Then they supported, now these people, they supported the civil disobedience, but then the main motive was to be benefited. Now failure of round table conference lost their interest in civil disobedience movement. Growing socialism in Congress and militant activities kept them away from civil disobedience movement when it was relaunched. The workers, they were also like, the civil disobedience was limited participation due to closeness of the congresses with the business community, and these people were engaged in some sort of boycott against low wages and poor working conditions. The business community which was there, these industrial workers were exploited by this business community. That is why they did not take much interest in the relaunching of the civil disobedience. Congress was reluctant to include their demands, fearing alienation of the industrialists. Now all these factors which were there, they were responsible for a cool reaction of the relaunching of the civil disobedience movement.